Hey, Texas Values friends. Jonathan Sines here, president of Texas Values. We're wrapping things up on the floor of Texas Faith Fest 2025. It's been an absolutely incredible couple of days and really emotional at sometimes. I mean, I'm just going to say it, right? There's been a lot of heavy hearts, a lot of important topics, but a lot of spirit in the room, right? A lot of people talking about their faith and things that matter to them. And I think some really interesting and personal conversations that we were able to have in front of some great crowds. And so one of the great talks and panels that we had just finished a few minutes ago, and we really kind of went across a little bit geographically, but also through some states and some policy issues tied around the Save Women's Sports and privacy issue with some key people. And so I'm excited. One of the participants of that panel was Paula Scanlan, who's a Save Women's Sports leader, but has gone beyond that in so many ways when it relates to the young conservative movement and really being out there and being active and on the ground, but also on social media. And she's got some family ties to Texas, so we're glad she's back. Good to see you again, Paula.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here today.
Yeah. Well, you got some Texas barbecue, too, while you were here, if nothing else, right? And you got to see family. But a really important conversation that you got to have with some folks that have been in the arena with you the past couple of years on the stage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's been so many wonderful voices that have talked about this issue, but really what we talked about today was just how the women's sports issue was really the beginning, and it went forward into talking about women's prisons and women's spaces and things that no one had really thought about. And in Amy's story, which we heard today, is just heartbreaking what women who are incarcerated are going through in this country, but also what high school students are going through in bathrooms and all of these different places that no one had thought anything about. And so I was so grateful to just get to talk about that today, but also have a state like Texas that is able to pass legislation, not just in the women's sports front, but going a step further. You guys are really setting the example for the rest of this country. And I said this on the stage, and I'll say it again. I would love to duplicate Texas values for the 49 other states in this country, because that is what we really need to save this country.
I appreciate that. And look, I didn't say it. Somebody else said it when we passed the Texas Women's Privacy Act. Maybe it was one of the bill authors, but that they believe this is the strongest bill of its kind in the entire country. Now, as you heard, or you may have heard me mention, Texas Values is a part of a network of family policy councils, state-based groups in other parts of the country in different states, 40 different states. And it's hard in a lot of states to pass these kind of laws, you know what I mean? And then you pass them and you wonder, did it have the right enforcement? Was it strong enough? Is there something we're going to have to come back from? So we've learned a lot over the years through our own experience, the experience of some other states. And so there is some of that sense of we want to make sure this is as strong as possible. But you know what's interesting? You mentioned about some of those different areas of public life, if you will, and culture and society, right, that touches this issue. I was doing an interview earlier with a reporter, and I was reflecting on how it started with this, but then it's a principle of law and policy. If you change a certain principle like male and female that is so foundational, it's bound to affect other areas that maybe we think about, maybe we don't.
Yeah, you know, exactly that. I mean, this whole entire fight has just turned into that we don't have definitions for words anymore. I mean, people have lost it. And it really is something that should be so basic. We should know what a man is. We should know what a woman is. Male and female is something that God explained to us exactly in the Bible. And yet there are people in this country that are confused on that. And so the clarity that you guys have done to do this, passing this law, making it necessary, it helps so many parts of law that people don't even realize, so many parts of legislation. And so that is something, again, I'm grateful for. And I think that we have to keep fighting in other states. And again, you guys have just done amazing work, and I really have no other way to say that. I'm so appreciative.
I appreciate that. And it's my understanding you're doing some work now at American Principles Project with my friend Terry Schilling. He spent some time in Texas, and I appreciate that work with some folks that we spent some time with. You know, you touched on how on the panel, how this issue related to the election and the election results. Some people say it was number 3 or number 4 topic that impacted the election results. We saw it at the national level. We also had a big Senate race here with Senator Cruz running for re-election. And I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, but there's no doubt it was a defining issue this last election cycle.
Definitely was. I mean, we saw it at every single Trump rally. I actually covered a lot of Trump rallies. That was something I got to do last year. And it came up at every single rally. Either Trump brought it up or one of his speakers brought it up. And it was something that people cited to why they were voting for Trump. It was a huge issue. And it was something that had come out of nowhere because, again, in previous elections in this country, this had never been talked about. Yet it became a top talking point for this past election. And I will say it was also in the RNC booklet when we were at the RNC, sitting on the floor. I'm going through the policy booklet. It has all these wonderful economic policies, and it has men do not belong in women's sports.
No, I was an RNC delegate from the state of Texas. I remember seeing you there. I saw Riley. We were in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, and I was so happy to see that, but it was a reflection of more people understanding this issue. They were also realizing that politically, it should have been an easy issue, but that if the left is not right on this just gives us an opportunity to make it clear, we know where we stand on this issue. I'm telling you, in Texas and other states, but I'll speak for our state, a lot of elected officials that are Democrats, they're nervous. They're talking about switching parties, or they're telling their party, you need to let me vote on this stuff, because they're having some real problems in their districts with constituents because people are not seeing this issue as right or left. They're seeing it as common sense.
Exactly that. And today on the stage, I brought up that this did pass the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, the Senate did not
at the federal level.
And I will say there was 2 Democrats that voted.
Wow.
I know for sure one of them was
favor.
from 2 Democrats that voted saying, yes, I want to side with the Republicans on this issue. It's common sense. One of them was from Texas.
Yeah.
And so that is showing the pressure that you guys are putting on these people at the federal level, saying you need to represent our state and our people in this state. I don't know. I think you guys had probably a big part in the fact that a guy from Texas was the one Democrat who said, hey, guys, maybe this is wrong.
Leah Thomas was from Texas. I'm just saying there's all some connection points. You want to blame it on him or whatever. But, I was in South Texas with the governor, an event the governor was at the end of our regular session this summer. And this is one of the counties, Webb counties, that voted Republican for the first time in over 100 years, right? And this is an issue that they're concerned about, the men and women, the sports, the bathrooms, all that stuff. They're seeing how it's touching other areas, and they realize we got to do something about this, right? So I think a lot of Democrats are realizing, as a matter of fact, in that district, a House member, Richard Raymond, voted in favor of the Texas Women's Privacy Act. I have to believe it's some reason because they're starting to feel that pressure. And, we met with Richard Raymond. We're like, you really should vote the right way on this issue. We want to give them that opportunity. But I do think it's a reflection of people seeing it's not about right and left for them. It's about common sense. And if that allows us to win on these issues, it doesn't matter to me which party it is. We got to get the right results because you've seen it better than anyone else, how it's impacting young ladies' lives. Even though we've passed these laws, I sadly know there's probably still ladies and athletes that are dealing with this issue and have not been able to get any relief.
Exactly that. This is something that's still happening, especially in states like California and blue states. I'm hearing heartbreaking stories of athletes going through this. And again, we have to keep fighting for them. And I'm thankful that we have leadership in Texas to do that. And we're setting a good example. And we have to keep fighting for it.
Yeah, well, listen, we appreciate your public witness, your advocacy, your courage from the beginning to get out there, but not just stop there, to realize not only about yourself, but there are other people that you can help and serve by moving your voice forward. So we're glad to have you a part of the event, glad to have this conversation. Paula Scanlan has been our guest today. This is the last session, the last interview, wrapping up Texas Faith Fest 2025. So God bless y'all.